Hello everybody, another update from me. Starting off with a quick update on Richard really. Nothing new as regards the Manchester court case. Just to note that he is working on another video. I think he'll probably post it sometime in the next month or 6 weeks. It's not on the Manchester case or anything like that. You hopefully find out soon enough what that is. He has sent me some updates on this video, but he's asked me not to post them or anything yet. So I'll leave it to Richard to update you, and we'll see where we go with that. And then moving swiftly on, I thought I'd update you on this ghost scientist story, which I covered just before Christmas originally with this guy that's written to me. Now I wrote all this up, and I think I posted the link in the last video. I'll just get that up actually, just so you've got it for reference. And it was this article here, The Ghost Scientist and the ISA. Now, I did post this round to my email list, and curiously enough, I actually got a response back from Daniel Wagner, who is the editor of the German Nexus magazine, and he asked if he could publish it. So I did do some small edits on the article, and it's now apparently being published in the German Nexus magazine. I'm not sure whether it's going to go in the English version. I did say they could put it in there if they want. Um, the full version isn't on the website. There is a partial print version, but again, the full version is on my website. I asked them to put a link in there. They didn't pay me for it. Apparently, they did pay the translators, which is fair enough. So I think it's, I don't know, 3,000 words or something, whatever it is, and it's that's quite a lot to translate into German, so that's okay. So that, and why I'm mentioning that is Daniel asked me to write some follow-up articles, which I'm hoping to do, and I'm going to write. I've got basically going to take a couple of chapters out of my Finding the Secret Space Program book, and those will, I hope, get published in Nexus, and I'll talk about 9/11 and stuff in there, and that should be, hopefully get a few people reading the Where Did the Towers Go book and stuff with any luck. So that's that update. Another mini update then. I watch Anton Petrov's science videos, mainly astronomy related. Occasionally he ventures outside astronomy, mostly astronomy related. I'm only mentioning this because he's done a couple of videos on asteroids and comets in the last few months. I did mention one, I don't know, 2-3 months back in the video updates, and he's just done one on this asteroid Bennu sample and return mission, which I think was completed quite a few years ago now. He gives the dates in here, but I can't remember having watched this a few days ago now. But what I wanted to point out is Bennu has compounds on it, much like um, uh, one of the other asteroids that has been found that they've had samples from, and whatnot. And it appears that Bennu has had chemicals which have formed in liquid water. Now, they say they don't really know where this has come from, but I suspect what this is all pointing to, the elephant in the room, is, I think, the exploded planet. And this is something that the Electric Universe talked about in relation to the formation of comets, which also have these minerals in them which can only form in liquid water. And this, again, this asteroid Bennu seems to be the same sort of thing. As you can see here, it says signs of liquid water. So you can watch that whole video if you want. Quite interesting. And then another video which somebody sent me, I'm sorry I forget who, it might come up in my playlist, was the Advanced Ancient Man and Petroglyph Mystery. And looking at all these petroglyphs, this is something that I don't think I've mentioned in my video updates before, but it's something that Bob Greenier has talked about quite a bit and done quite a few talks on. But the very peculiar thing is that these petroglyphs, they are identical in their kind of plan view to plasma formations which have been found in laboratory experiments at places like, I don't know, Los Alamos. Again, it's all in this video, and it is said that these plasma formations needed equipment, which was like $1.5 million to actually make these plasma formations in the lab. And there's a scientist here, I think, in this video. Here we go. I think it is this guy, and he explains how these petroglyphs match what he found in the lab. Um, and there's some details given here. So this is all very peculiar that these ancients seem to know about plasma and how it forms. And Bob Greenyer makes the argument this, not knowledge of this is actually, an ancient technology, and then it's all to do with, the way that we can get free energy and stuff, and cold fusion, and these toroids and charge clusters and stuff. It's all to do with that. So again, you can look at Bob Greenyer's material. I haven't got the link in this particular video, but if you go and look at the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, you'll find his videos there. So that's that one. The links will all be in the description and on Odyssey, so do sign up for Odyssey if you haven't already. And then I just thought I'd mention a little bit about AI, which has been, we've had this new DeepSeek language model that's been released by a Chinese company, and they've released it as open source, and it's made some huge waves in the industry, the AI industry now. Now, I don't know how much of this is hype. Some of it is probably hype, but regardless, if you watch this video, this guy has set this up, this open source DeepSeek R1, which uses reflective learning or something. It's a special type of model it's like ChatGPT's version 03 or something, or 01, and it works very well, and you can even run it on a Raspberry Pi apparently, which is a very small sort of credit card sized computer. It runs very slowly on a Raspberry Pi, but you can run the light version of it, and it's all open source and free. So it can generate code. He got it to write a Tetris game and stuff. It doesn't do the scoring, but it did everything else. And it wrote this Tetris game code, I think, in about 5 minutes or something. So it's, again, it does some pretty wild things. Creating big waves as regards it needs less hardware to run. It doesn't use as many chips of these NVIDIA chips, which can run all the AI code in an optimal way. So again, this could introduce some big changes. Certainly, as some of you know, I do some work for the Open University, and the students are starting to use AI now. One module we actually encourage its use to help write code, and most other modules, so we don't want it used because it can generate answers to questions. So this is a game changer, I think, and even if you scale down the hype, it's still very important, in the white world that we know about. So that's that. You can have a look at that. And then on that theme, a chap called Sean sent me this very interesting video, and it kind of gets into this Tartaria territory a little bit, which I'm kind of a bit reluctant to get into myself because it seems to have strong ties with the flat Earth. However, what this video is I think somebody called Eddie, and he asks AI questions about St. Petersburg, and there are various anomalies about the alleged population of St. Petersburg in the 1700s, and the actual size and number of the buildings and their sophistication. And the AI ends up saying, that this is very unusual, and maybe recorded history has not being recorded properly and stuff, so it's quite interesting. It's only 9 minutes long, and so maybe AI will be a gateway to some more truthful presentation of facts if you give it the right prompts, such as was demonstrated by Morgan Reynolds and John Herald, when I showed you that, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. And again, relating to sort of technocracy and that sort of theme, there's another short video which came up on my feed, and really why I think this is significant is that it's saying that Bitcoin, because it's like independent of all the banks and everything, the argument goes that when all the money is devalued, Bitcoin is going to maintain its value, and that's why Trump is setting up this cryptocurrency sort of operation outfit in the US government, and they want to be big on crypto, and they're going to buy 500 million Bitcoin or something. So if you listen to this chap, he does seem to know what he's talking about. My problem with Bitcoin, I've got some Bitcoin, somebody sent me some, but with Bitcoin, the whole problem with it, as I see it, is you need an internet connection to trade in it. You need network connectivity, you need devices, you need electronics. So basically, so it's not like gold. So but I do think this guy has a point. And if the system isn't going to just completely collapse, I don't think. But Bitcoin, is a very important technological factor in all of the what's going on with the financial markets. So worth having a listen to this guy, I think. And then I mentioned Trump, and I'm going to mention him a couple of times. I watched a couple of weeks ago, yeah, just I think it's a couple of days after he was inaugurated. I did watch his inauguration speech, and this, whatever you think of him, whether you think he's a Zionist, I did mention this on the CFR podcast that I did that's already been uploaded to the channel a couple of weeks ago, so you can have a listen to that if you want. But why I wanted to mention it here is there are a couple of things in particular which I found very interesting. One of them was where he starts talking about a US mission to Mars. He says he's going to put, manned, as you can see, Tucker Carlson here, actually, he was in the audience, which is kind of interesting. He says that he's going to put astronauts on Mars to plant the stars and stripes on Mars. Well, good luck to him with that. But that wasn't the most interesting thing he said. He said, and let me get the quote. Hang on.
We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
So you heard the announcement for going to Mars with astronauts, but what was really interesting is what he said a few minutes later after this. He talks about the pioneering spirit of American, settlers, and then he says this.
They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand.
So the missing thing there was putting men on the moon. He talked about launching mankind into the heavens, but he didn't mention going to the moon, which is rather odd considering, he talked about going to Mars. I'll leave that one with you. The full text of the speech is there. I'll leave that link in the list as well. So now I want to move on with sort of a bit of a UFO type UAP update and whatnot. Now, I came across this Jesse Michaels video here of this guy. Now, I've seen him before in another video, and I wasn't sure what to make of him, but I kind of made my mind up in this particular video. Meet the Navy scientist with UFO patents. Now, you can listen to this whole interview if you want, but what was really interesting to me was this guy, again, didn't really tell us much that we don't already know. He claimed to have secret knowledge, but didn't really reveal any of that, of course. And he talks about he just wants there to be an external threat so that everyone can come together and and sort of deal with this threat. Similar to what Reagan said, it was actually eerily similar to what Reagan was saying, and indeed he does mention that, I think. And he says this a couple of times, and he does seem to use a few sort of psychological tactics. He reminds me a bit of Fetzer, Jim Fetzer, in that he sort of gives strokes to the guys that are interviewing him. There's another interesting guy that's with Jesse Michaels, who seems very knowledgeable, but it's all pretty much mainstream quantum mechanics with a bit of, the more edgy stuff, fringe stuff thrown in for good measure. But the fact that he promotes Joseph P. Farrell, and who else does he promote as well? Yeah, he promotes Richard Dolan, who again Richard Dolan has covered Dr. Ewood's book, but he's been very muted about it. But again, in this video, there's a complete absence of the discussion of 9/11. For me, it's a huge absent elephant in the room, as it were, or the elephant in the next room, which they don't seem to know is there, or don't want to acknowledge is there. The elephant not in the room in this case. So you can watch that if you want. I just didn't trust this guy. I think he's just another limited hangout, honeypot guy. He does talk about this effect that he's patented or something, but I'd kind of lost interest in that really. It seemed not that interesting to me, at least. Maybe it's more interesting than I realised, but anyway. And then the other guy that I've been listening to quite a bit of is this Jake Barber guy,
essentially
and he is the
essentially
sort
a
of a
flying
special
disc
operations,
with what looked like
guy.
8
Um,
delineated sections when looking down. And I can tell
when I can stop the video, it's just been a bit unresponsive because I've got so many tabs open. So he seems legitimate. He seems sincere. And he alleges that he was involved in a crash retrieval. And he's still sort of under oath for certain things, and I think he is legitimate. What's slightly different is he seems to have got together with another group of guys, and they've been actually summoning these egg-shaped UFOs, which he said he retrieved one of. And he's got a little bit of video of this. It's not very spectacular, but this interview is very interesting nevertheless, whatever you think of it. I think he is legitimate. I think he did get involved in crash retrieval. But again, we've heard these sorts of stories before. He pushes the boat out a little bit more, perhaps, um, and then he does this very long interview with Jesse Michaels again. Jesse Michaels seems to be getting access to all these people. Maybe he's just well connected, but I don't know. This again is quite a good interview. It's quite long, but I think strokes to Jake Barber at the end, because he talks about we need to be curious. That's the underlying thing, and we have to be kind of positive. And he talks about all the institutional distrust, as you can see here, this theme. So he's connecting more dots. He's not just talking about crash retrievals and UFOs. He's talking about a bit more than that. So again, it's worth keeping an eye on. Again, no mention of 9/11. Whether he's clued into 9/11, this Jake Barber fellow, I don't know. But it's interesting that he's working with a team of guys on various things. So we'll see where it goes. Um, and the other thing that I think comes up in one of these Jesse Michaels videos is, and I don't think I've got it linked here actually because this was kind of an afterthought. When Jesse Michaels talked to David Grush, I think it is mentioned somewhere in this video. I think it's mentioned Jesse Michaels is quite good at editing in other clips, and he gets this quote from David Grush saying that Oppenheimer was involved in setting up UFO secrecy, and this Jake Barber seems to agree. So it's getting clearer now, the connections between the UFO cover-up and the secrecy in the 1940s, the mid 1940s, regarding the nuclear program, the atomic weapons program, the Manhattan Project, and the crossover there. And it seems that this, people like Robert Sarbacher were involved. And I'm going to put this in this Nexus article that I'm sort of writing. Well, I have put it in. I've just got to edit this and stuff. So at least it's useful for sort of, in my mind, firming up that connection. Los Alamos' involvement in the cover-up and the connections to the nuclear program and stuff. And then you can see here that Jake Barber talks about angels and demons. So it's quite a good interview, if a little bit long. Some good stuff in, but again, I think Jesse Michaels again is he is doing limited hangouts and stuff. I think he's pretty good, but again, the stuff that he's not talking about that he should be talking about by now, really. He's been doing this for several years. And then I think to finish off then on the UFO and ET theme, John sent me this interesting video of Patrick Bet-David podcast and Stephen Greer, which was just done early February, just a couple of days ago. As you can see, I do this here. I can just click on there for the date, can't I? 5th of Feb. And Greer again, he's his usual self. Not much that's new. Um, Patrick Bet-David is a good interviewer, and Greer comes out with this story that he was offered $2 billion by Albert Stubblebine for something to stop doing what he was doing. You know, it's all very vague, and Patrick Bet-David really presses him on this, and Greer kind of ducks the question, and he doesn't really give all the details. And Patrick Bet-David isn't particularly happy with that. Um, and so I think again Greer does know more than he's letting on. I do think maybe Stubblebine knew that Greer had something, and there was some kind of, I don't know, dealing going on there, but not exactly what Greer says. The other interesting bit in this video is this Tim Burchett, who's a senator, I think, or a representative in Congress. He talks about underwater UFOs, USOs traveling 100 miles an hour underwater, and that he's been given information about these. And that doesn't often come up. And he's quite interesting. He sounds like a down-to-earth chap, and it's quite interesting what he says in this clip in this video. So that's also an interesting bit in this video. So Greer's ducking the issues. Another good bit is where Patrick Bet-David presents Greer with this clip of the moon fakery or apparent moon fakery. I've seen this clip before. I don't know whether it's just disinformation, but he brings up with Greer the idea of the Apollo landings being fake. Greer just says something like, "Oh yeah, both stories are not true" or something. But he then, as he always does, talks about his uncle who worked on the lunar module for Northrop Grumman that landed on the moon, and that did not happen. We can see that it didn't happen now. We know that it didn't happen. So, it's a shame that Patrick Bet-David doesn't fully understand this yet and didn't pressurise Greer on it. But hey, it's quite an interesting interview, and Greer does reveal some interesting information. He shows these pictures, but he bigs himself up again as usual. I think it's back here, isn't it? And he shows these pictures from the Lockheed Skunk Works testing ground. I'd not seen these pictures before. I don't know where it is in the video, but I've got them here anyway. I found them online in this tab. It'll take a moment to come up now. And he shows this picture here, this one, and it looks like a runway, but it's not. But this picture, I think, was taken in 1996. I think some information was revealed. And Greer claims that these pits here are where they test anti-gravity craft, and they come out, and then they apparently beam these craft with high-powered radar or directed energy, and see how they measure up. And some of that appears to be backed up in this article on this facility, Helendale Avionics Facility. That's what the pictures are of, and you can see that some of the pictures that Greer was showing seem to have come from this web page, or there's copies of them on here, so you can look at that. So again, I think Greer does have access to some of this information, but he's somewhat putting his own spin on it, or maybe he doesn't quite know as much, and neither do I, by the way, as he lets on, as he claims. I think there's stuff that he does know that he doesn't talk about, and stuff that he kind of alludes to the fact that he knows, but he doesn't, And I mean, I saw, for example, Greer repeat this claim that he briefed this CI director, Woolsey, and Woolsey issued this letter years ago in 1999 to say that Greer didn't really brief him. Yes, they were at the same dinner party, but he didn't brief Woolsey on the UFO issue, and there were 4 signed witnesses. That was posted on Patrick Bett's Twitter feed or X feed as well. So you can have a look at that. It's worth, if you can stand Greer, if you're not sick of him yet. I mean, he's always interesting to listen to, even though he's not. Some of what he says, I think, is important. I mean, like for example, he outright says that Louis Elizondo is part of counterintelligence, putting out disinformation. So I agree with him on that. I agree with a lot of the other stuff that he says, but some stuff is just, is just obviously keeping back and not being truthful about. That's what I find, kind of annoying, really. So that's really, I think, all I wanted to put in this update. So I'm going to leave it there. The links will be in the description or on Odyssey. And so thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for your support, and we'll see where we get to this year. Bye for now.